All right, so it's time to talk about kind of an example of what an effective routine might look like. I've talked about some changes that can be helpful for you, and if you missed those, go back and watch the previous videos. I think those would be really, really helpful for you to get started. But if you've already taken a look at them and you're ready to start understanding how to build an effective routine, or you need some ideas that you can include or take out from your current routine, let's take a minute to chat about it. So, first, I recommend starting at what you're already doing pre-bedtime. As I mentioned in the previous video, we can't change what we're not aware of. So if you're curious to understand, how am I currently stacking my habits, or how are these things kind of coming together to create my current routine, take a moment to go back and look at the habit stacking videos from the last series. So you can definitely use ingrained habits like teeth brushing or face washing to help you build in additional habits. So there are a few components of what is an ideal bedtime routine, and one of those, I believe, is a screen cutoff time. So this is simply a time which after that you do not look at screen for the rest of the night. It can be really, really helpful in kind of lowering brain activity, lowering blue light intake, and it's something that often I see people that are staring at their phone or staring at a screen up until the moment they try to go to sleep, and that can, even if you do fall asleep quickly, can result in waking up and not being able to fall back asleep, less deep sleep. So I find that is really important. And a wind down activity. So that can be anything from reading, drawing, journaling, stretching, meditating, even just having a conversation with your partner that really starts to wind your mind down, wind your body down for the evening is really important when you're creating that bedtime routine. And then also a hygiene routine. You probably already have something like this implemented. Probably, I imagine you're at least brushing your teeth every night. I hope so. But looking at how we can change that hygiene routine, maybe you start including a hot shower. Maybe you have a specific routine or steps to wash your face and brush your teeth. Putting on comfy PJs. If you don't own comfy PJs, get some comfy PJs. Game changer. And as we mentioned before, we want to start by working backwards. So starting from the time that you want to have your lights out, try adding in one new behavior at a time. So like you learned with habit stacking, trying to change a million things at once usually leads to not changing anything consistently at all. So here's an example. You might decide that you would like to leave your phone around 10 p.m., then get in your shower, brush your teeth, wash your face, and take a few minutes to journal before you get into bed to read. So perhaps the way you start is simply by finding a new place to plug your phone in and by keeping your book next to your bed. Try that out for a few days and then add in another step. So once we are looking at kind of the sleep routine as a whole, here's an example of what that might look like. So maybe after dinner, you clean up from dinner and you watch an episode of your favorite show. And that is the trigger for you to check your last emails, send the last messages for the day, and then plug your phone in outside of your bedroom or far away from your bed. So maybe that triggers you to choose your clothing for tomorrow's workday and maybe pack your gym bag or any snacks that you need for the next day, which then can trigger you to go in the bathroom, take a shower, brush your teeth, wash your face, put on your pajamas, which can then trigger you to do a few minutes of breathing exercises or some slow stretching. I love getting down in like a child's pose and just letting myself relax and breathe super deeply there. You can also look into something called yoga nidra, which is essentially sleep yoga that can be really, really helpful. And then from there, that breathing or slow deep stretching can trigger you to read a book or pull out your journal and journal for a little while, which can then, once you finish, be sort of your trigger to then roll over and turn out the lights. Something really important to remember is that life happens. And sometimes, even though like this sounds like an ideal sleep routine, sometimes you'll have evening plans that cut your nighttime routine short, or something may pop out of the blue to throw this off. And so, for example, on a night that you have plans, maybe you cut out your breathing exercises and you cut out watching an episode of your favorite show, or maybe you read slightly less than normal. But the key is to not give up on your routine altogether just because you can't dedicate yourself to 100%. Going through the motions of the step-by-step can still be really, really beneficial for your brain. And it may be helpful for you, depending on what kind of person you are, to map out a couple of options. So maybe you have your long extended version, and maybe you have your short version of your sleep routine that you can always fall back on. And then the last thing to remember on this topic is it might take time for you to see changes in your sleep. It isn't one of those things that immediately you set up a sleep routine and all of a sudden it's a button that leads you to perfect sleep. While some changes can have an immediate effect, like you may notice that taking a hot shower can immediately help you fall asleep a little bit faster, some other changes might be gradual. It might take a little while. And like with any changes that we work on in nutrition coaching or any program that you've done with me, start with one at a time and celebrate yourself for sticking to it. Don't add any complexity or difficulty in these routines until you actually feel ready to do so.